Good morning. We're just a couple days now till Christmas time. Today is getting right down there to the nitty gritties. It's the 23rd of December, and Hunter called this morning. Be coming in 3 days, Grandpa, and they're excited, and so are we to have them come that way. But today we're going to look at Revelation chapter 15, and it's a short chapter. There's only eight verses. And it begins kind of with good news. The headline in my Bible, or the header introduction, it says "Prelude to the bowl judgments," and it starts with the words, "Then I saw another sign in heavens, great and marvelous." And I read that great and marvelous, and something marvelous is good, right? Marvelous is good. And so in my Bible, I have the word written, "Really?" with a question mark, exclamation mark. And then finally, good news, again with a exclamation mark, question mark, because is it good news or isn't it good news? And then the very next thing is 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them the wrath of God is complete. And so 7 last plagues. Doesn't sound like good news to me, other than that in them the wrath of God will be complete. And then we'll be, at the final time. But these 7 last plagues remind me that, as the 7 angels blew their 7 trumpets and the 7 seals were broken, the last 3 of those seals set some woes upon the earth. And those woes weren't very good. I mean, they were devastating, and they would have been terrifying to live through. And so we had the 7 woes, and now we have 7 plagues coming. It reminds me, it makes me think about the 10 plagues that God sent against the Egyptians as he freed his people, the Israelites, from captivity. And the final plague there was not a good plague at all. I mean, none of them were good, but the final one was really totally devastating before the Israelites finally were set free. And then God led them by a pillar of fire by night and a pillar of cloud by day, and they crossed the Red Sea and all of that stuff. But these plagues make me think back to the Old Testament, to the Exodus, to the book of Exodus, and the journeys there, and how the wrath of God played out against the Egyptians as he was trying to set his people, his chosen people, the Israelites, free. So verse 1, we have this great and marvelous news of the bowl judgments, but yet there will be 7 plagues that come from these judgments, and we won't get into them today. That starts in chapter 16. We'll get into those tomorrow. And then verse 2, he says, "I saw something like a sea of glass mingled with fire, and those who have had victory over the beast, over his image, over his mark, and over the number of his name, standing on a sea of glass, having harps of God." So on this sea of glass that is kind of imbued with a fire, it's shiny and bright, and I don't know. You think about the reflection of the sun on a perfectly still body of water. Sometimes that could look like a sea of glass embedded with fire in it. Just the way the sun reflects off that. I tried to get some of the imagery in my head, and I do that because Revelation is a lot of imagery. It's John had this revelation, and there's pictures that he sees, and he's trying to share them with us. So try to get to see in your mind what he's seeing. So these people that are standing on this sea of glass, or maybe clear ice or whatever it might be, have the harps of God. And the people that are there, what's the description of those people? They are the people that have resisted the beast. They have had victory over the beast. They've been able to say no to the beast. They do not have the mark of the beast. They don't have the number of the beast. They have the harps of God. They have the love of God in them. They have the grace of God. They have God leading and guiding, and they are hanging on to this hope and this promise of Jesus Christ in God. And verse 3, it says, they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. And then they sing this song, "Great and marvelous are your works, Lord and God. Just and true are your ways. Who shall not fear you?" Remembering that the word fear that way is to respect, to honor, to obey, to follow. Who shall not hold you in reverence, O Lord, rather than fear, maybe, and glorify your name, for you are holy. Your judgments have been manifested. My Bible says, manifested. Your judgments have been made known. You know, God has come into the midst of the people. And the 7 angels that have blown the 7 trumpets and blown the 7 seals have made God more known. And they have exposed the beast, Satan. They have exposed him and laid him open to God's judgment and to God's wrath. And they have laid open to God's wrath and judgment the people that do not accept and believe in God as well. And so we have this, you know, they're singing this song that only those who know God can sing. Only those who know and respect and hold him in honor and glory can sing that song. And then verse 5, after these I looked, and behold, the temple of the tabernacle of testimony in heaven was opened, and out of the temple came 7 angels, and the 7 plagues clothed in pure linen, having their chests girded with gold bands. So you think about, I mean, these angels are coming, and they're robed in white. They're bright linens, and their chests are girded in gold. I mean, they don't look fearful to me, in my estimation. And then, you know, it goes on to 4 living creatures that, I mean, and you remember, you know, around the throne, the very beginning, the throne, and then the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders were all there. And, you know, so we're seeing these, you know, that one of the 4 living creatures gave to these angels 7 golden bowls that are filled with the wrath of the God who lives forever and ever. You know, I mean, I think it was just yesterday I said, you know, that, you know, God is getting to his boiling point. You know, he's a peaceful, loving, and gracious God, but he's finally had it with Satan. He's finally said, enough. You know, this is going to come to an end. And the final judgment is here, and I'm going to set the world back to the way it should have been, the way it was in the very beginning of time of creation. And, you know, it says, you know, the temple of the tabernacle and the testimony of heaven was opened. The temple of the tabernacle, you know, when the Israelites were wandering in the wilderness, and up until the time of Solomon, you know, David wanted to build a temple for God, and God said, no, I'm content to be in this tent. I'm a God who moves. I don't need a house to live in, because that's not where I live. But then Solomon, David's son, who became, you know, king after David, then God said, you can build the tabernacle for me, or the temple rather. But, you know, the tabernacle, you know, held the 10 Commandments, all of these things that had come from God, and it was lost. I mean, the Jewish nation no longer has the Ark of the Covenant, and, you know, because that was part of what was always in the tabernacle was, you know, the correspondence from God. It's gone. But, you know, we're going to find that it's, you know, that God has it stored up in heaven. So here, you know, the tabernacle of the testimony of heaven was opened. You know, the kingdom of God is becoming more fully known to all of us. And then the picture of the temple in verse 8. The temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God and his power, and no one was able to enter the temple until the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were completed. So, you know, the temple of God filled with the smoke, and, you know, the smoke from the glory of God and from his power. And again, you know, you try to put a picture in my head, and, you know, the picture that comes to mind is from the Wizard of Oz again. You know, when Dorothy and Toto and all of these friends of hers finally get to the wizard, and there's all this noise and commotion, and, you know, you probably know the picture as well in your mind. You can see it that way, but, you know, but God is in his temple. God is in his holy temple, and we can't see it clearly. And I think, you know, part of the imagery of the smoke is that we can't see it clearly. And that's just like the last couple nights now. I mean, on the 21st, we went out and we could see, you know, the Jupiter and you know, the Venus getting close together out there. We could see the Christmas star, the 2 planets coming close together. And last night, again, it was more obscured by clouds. And some people haven't been able to see it at all. And And I think that part of the smoke of the temple of God is showing us, is reminding us that not everybody can see through the smoke and the mirrors of Satan. You know, Satan promises such great things. And just think about what he promised Jesus when he was tempting Jesus. You know, he said, "Come, you know, if you're hungry, you know, command these stones to be bread. You know, if you're the Son of God, you know, if you're the Son of God, throw yourself down, and God will send His angels to protect you. If you're the Son of God, worship me, and I'll give you everything." You know, this is the, and this is the same thing that Satan does to us. You know, he blows smoke at us. He's shining mirrors at us. You know, telling us one thing, that he's going to promise us something, and it looks so good, sounds so good, but Satan doesn't have anything to give. For Satan to say to Jesus that, you know, if you worship me, I'll give you everything. It wasn't Satan's to give, because who does creation belong to? Creation belongs to God, the one who created it. And so I sometimes think that, you know, some of this smoke from the glory of God is a little bit of the secrecy, a little bit of the unknown, a little bit of the mystery of how all things are going to unfold in the end. And, you know, it says nobody's going to be able to enter until the 7 plagues are completed. And at that point in time, then, the doors, the gates of heaven will be open. And we're going to read later on, you know, in heaven there is no night. There's no need of the sun or the moon, because the light is from Jesus Christ. There is no night there, so there is no need to close the doors, no need to close the gates. But right now, at this point in time, in this revelation to John, no one is able to enter into through the gates to enter into the temple at least, you know, maybe. And to me, the temple is referring to this heaven of God, this kingdom of God that will never end, that we will be with God in His glory forever. So, as I was looking ahead in this, Revelation has 22 chapters in it, and that we would read that on the 30th, and then on the 31st there is nothing scheduled according to this reading plan. But if you're looking at the reading plan that's in the daily devotion I get on and through the little booklet we get in the churches sometimes, you know, it's different. But so on Christmas Day, I'm going to talk about Christmas, and then we're going to be finishing up. We'll do chapter 22 on the 31st of December, and then we'll, on January 1st, we'll start with Matthew 1 as we continue looking through the Bible. So God bless your journey today, and if you have to travel, be safe.